What up, Cucks? It's your boy, the Hater, and sorry that this review is a little bit late. I was watching the Euros, which I find much more interesting than WWE Clash at the Castle. But right after the game ended, I decided to go watch Clash at the Castle, and here we are, Cucks. Let's get started. Let's not waste any time. The event opens up with Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles, right? This would never happen if Roman Reigns were the champion. He would never be the first match of the night. But because Cody Rhodes is not a real champion and nobody really cares about this title run, of course this is going to happen. Now, I know you're thinking, Hater, the fans were so excited to see him. Yeah. Have you noticed that every pay-per-view since Mania has been in these like remote-ass areas that get like one WWE show every 5 years? That's why he's still over. Like, if you've never seen wrestling live, to you, Cody Rhodes might feel like Cena, right? But believe me, if The Undertaker came out, or if Cena came out, or if Stone Cold came out, the fans would cheer twice as loud, right? As predicted, the fans sang the whole theme song because these are extra smarky fans. I know that the ticket prices for these events are extremely high, right? Pardon the hater. I have a lot of friends in Brazil because my fiance is Brazilian, and they were telling me how like the NFL tickets are like insane, right? And it's the same business model. The idea is if they're gonna have one NFL game in Brazil, every NFL fan is gonna want to go. This is gonna drive up the cost because the demand is gonna be so high and the supply is like one game a season. So everyone's gonna want to go, irrespective of the teams. Same thing here. Now, I should note that at some point, some genius in the back put up the little infographic, right? And it said, women's champion or women's tag team champions, talent name. Now, everyone was freaking out about this as far as I've heard. But I personally think this is just a careless error because you look at Cody Rhodes and you think two things. Wow, this person sure is girly. And two, wow, there's no way this person can be the world champion. So he must be one half of the women's tag team champions. And since nobody knows who the hell this guy is, they're like, I don't know, talent name. You know, they forgot to write it down because they're like, oh, talent name, I don't know his name. So that's why that happened, Cucks. Cody Rhodes predictably wins. He wins with like one of the classic ways to win an I Quit match. Threaten to destroy your opponent. The opponent says I quit before they get destroyed. And then you destroy them anyways, right? The match was not bad, but given the fact that it was extremely predictable, there's no way Cody Rhodes is losing an I Quit match. And given the fact that none of it makes any sense because there was a point where AJ Styles, had a chair and he was looking at Cody Rhodes' mother. Why not just grab her by the hair if it means so much to you, if you're a heel, throw her in the ring like Randy Orton did to John Cena's dad and say, do you quit now, Cody? And then Cody's going to say, I quit, and then you bash his mother on the head, you know what I mean? Or maybe you don't. But the idea is that would actually be an interesting way to get someone like Cody Rhodes to drop the title. He has to say, I quit, otherwise his mother gets it, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't go with that, and they shouldn't have. Like, AJ Styles is not in a position right now to end Cody Rhodes' title run. They're going to try to milk this, but it's not working, right? As evidenced by the fact that even the people that work for this company didn't realize this was Cody Rhodes, the world champion. They obviously thought this was one half of the tag team champions, the women's tag team champions, that is. They may have thought he was Kairi Sane or something. I don't know. But that doesn't matter, right? This kind of shit would never go down during the Vince McMahon era. But during the Triple H era, be prepared for like less than quality. Next up, we had the Unholy Union, which is one of the worst tag teams of all time. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. And they beat Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark. I forget who was pinned, but basically Isla Dawn came in and did a German suplex to Jade, who was pinning somebody. So maybe she was pinning Shayna Baszler or Zoe Stark, and then they just pinned the person that had just taken the beating. The person just took the little wheelbarrow DDT suplex thing that Undisputed Era used to do, but now Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair do it. Took that finish, and they just got pinned, right? Now, a couple of things that were wrong with this match. First of all, this match explains and displays why women's wrestling is complete garbage, right? The amount of botches here were unforgivable. Some of the botches, I'm a fair man, came at the hands of Jade Cargill. As a matter of fact, she botched a lot, right? She tried to do a springboard, failed. She tried to do like a suplex kick thing. I'm not even sure what it was. It ended up looking okay, but she failed, right? She's just not good in the ring. Now, I know I've said in the past that she doesn't need to be good in the ring, and I still stand by that, right? But you can't have her in these like ring-heavy matches and expect her to do well while she learns, right? The correct way to do this is to have her be at house shows and learn how to work in front of a live crowd in front of house shows while giving her a Goldberg-like streak on the main roster on TV, right? Every week, it should be Jade Cargill comes out, just like an AW. Jade Cargill comes out, she challenges someone, fucking Isla Dawn comes out, Jade Cargill boots her in the head, hits the Jaded, pins her 1 through 3. That's it. That's all we want to see. But they didn't go with that. After the match, this was really stupid because the Unholy Union, which are supposed to be these two, like, I don't know, witch-like figures, they go in the crowd. One of them's crying. They're hugging their friends and family who are sitting at ringside. They get flowers. You know, like, what the hell? These are witches. They don't want flowers. But they already broke their gimmick immediately and then just became fucking the Iconics or the beautiful people who like just pretty much talk shit about their opponents. That's their entire shtick. But they have no actual gimmick. Yet they insist on calling themselves the Unholy Union. Whatever, right? Next up, we had Sami Zayn versus Chad the Cuckold Gable. This was horrible. I hated every second of this. We have seen this 3 times now. I don't want to see it again, motherfucks. Chad Gable is better than this. Sami Zayn is not, but Chad Gable is. This was your typical Chad Gable and his recalcitrant stable segment, right? The stable is retarded. Tozawa wasn't there, but Otis and Maxine Dupree were. And while Otis and Maxine Dupree were out there, the storyline was the same thing. Are they going to help? Are they not going to help? At a certain point, Chad Gable, who's presented as an intelligent guy, he would have to start second-guessing himself. Wow, why am I hanging out with these retarded people? Like, they're stupid. They don't understand the orders they're being given, and or they don't listen to me. So why do I have to rely on them, right? Chad Gable was doing just fine. Every time Chad Gable loses a match to Sami Zayn, it's because he's not focused. It's because he insists for some reason that he hold up Sami Zayn for 4 minutes while Otis, who operates mentally at the pace of a snail, is like, well, do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I do it? Do I not do it? Do I do it? Do I not do it? Like 4 minutes of this shit, and then Otis tries and he sometimes hits Chad Gable, and then Sami Zayn hits the haluva kick and wins, right? That's essentially what happened here. We had a few false moments like this, right? We had a situation where Maxine Dupree could have easily just smacked Sami Zayn as she was told to do with the belt, but she refused to do it. As a result, this led to Chad Gable berating her, Otis stepping in, Chad Gable gets countered, and he accidentally clips Maxine in the leg. Long story short, Otis picks her up and takes her to the back. Chad Gable is busy in the corner yelling, turns around, and even though they already did this spot 100 times, Chad Gable falls for it one more time. He turns around, haluva kick, 1, 2, 3. The other things were not bad. Like Chad Gable did like a perfect chaos theory. He put the ankle lock and he dragged him to the middle of the ring with it. There's a lot of moments like that, but because the match was so stupid in its execution, I give it a 0 stars, cucks. And obviously here in the hater channel, we operate on a 10-star system because we're twice as good. Next up, we had Bayley versus Piper Niven. This was also stupid. Bayley essentially wins, but with a crucifix driver, which apparently is like the new move now, right? You know how like in AEW the new move like a few years ago was the Canadian Destroyer. Now the crucifix driver is the new move. Really, really dumb. Piper Niven was super over because she's from Scotland as well. I thought it would have been a good idea to give the title to Piper Niven. I'm not here to discuss what should and should not have happened because different people have different opinions. But I will say this. Bayley is right there with Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes as having one of the worst title reigns of all time. And right there with Gunther as well. Like, this title reign has been a complete disaster. Nobody cares about Bayley, and nobody cared about Bayley in Scotland. Now, I'm not a fan of giving people the moment because they're in their hometown, but this is an exception because we are in a different country that doesn't get this opportunity very often, right? And it's like a national pride. Scotland also just got their asses whooped by Germany 5-1 yesterday, but that's not here nor there. Obviously, we're not going to base the results on that. But it just seems like Piper Niven would be a more compelling champion than Bayley. You can have like Piper Niven versus Nia Jax or something down the line, you know? Like, but you need Piper Niven to like have some credibility. But she didn't get any because Bayley wins in what was like a 10-minute match essentially, right? Then we had Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre comes out to an entrance that was far less cool than the one that he came out to last year. If you haven't seen it, last year's entrance was awesome, right? At Clash at the Castle, where they showed, like, they played the old theme, and they showed, like, Drew McIntyre as, like, a child holding, like, a fake belt, and then they show him, like, basically growing up in front of our eyes as a wrestler, and, you know, eventually, finally becoming the man he is today, right? The match was okay, but once again, Damian Priest is a shit champion, so he should have lost, in my personal opinion. But hey, you don't want him to lose, that's fine. I don't really care. He's going to be a transitional champion anyways. I feel like now it's going to be Gunther that takes it from him, but that's just such a silly, like, feud. Gunther versus Damian Priest. Like, what is going to come out of that? So I thought that McIntyre would have won, and I still think there's a chance that he might get the title before fucking SummerSlam, which is in a couple of months, actually. There's plenty of opportunities for that. But the idea that, like, the champion is fucking Damian Priest, it just rubs me the wrong way. And him being in the main event just didn't feel correct. Like, he doesn't feel like a main eventer. Long story short, the match is back and forth for a while. Damian Priest goes for the South of Heaven for the second or third time, I don't remember. Drew McIntyre kind of, like, does a little jumping counter where, like, the person gets lifted up and he kind of goes behind the person, runs against the ropes. Priest goes for a clothesline. McIntyre ducks it, bounces off the other ropes, hits the Claymore, pins him. The crowd starts counting. Then a referee comes in. It's obviously CM Punk, but they were trying to make it a surprise. It was an interesting way that they tried to do it, because they tried to, like, not show his face, and he counts 1, 2, and then he doesn't count. And then Drew McIntyre's like, oh shit, CM Punk. Gets in his face. CM Punk just low blows him, pushes his face down, and runs away, basically. At this point, Drew McIntyre's getting up all groggy and shit. Meanwhile, Damian Priest is also up, grabs him, South of Heaven, 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm not against these kinds of finishes. I think they're perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, I think we need one once in a while, because that's what wrestling is all about. But in this particular case, it's getting a little bit unbalanced, right? In my opinion, this was a double turn, right? I don't know if they're going to present it as that on Monday, but to me, this was a double turn. In my opinion, today, CM Punk turned heel and Drew McIntyre turned face. Because, for a couple of reasons. Number one, Drew McIntyre has been booked as the face of this feud because he's wrestling a far less popular wrestler in Damian Priest. And two, he's in his hometown, right? So the fans were supposed to boo this. A lot of them didn't, which is really weird. But while CM Punk, in my opinion, is behaving like a heel because, okay, let's say Drew McIntyre was happy that he, injured you, right? CM Punk, or that you were injured. I don't even think it was him who injured CM Punk, right? So Drew McIntyre basically, like, the feud is, Drew McIntyre is happy that CM Punk is gone, and CM Punk wants to ruin his life for it, right? Which is silly. But even if that were the feud and we were supposed to accept that, he already ruined his life at WrestleMania, right? How many more times is CM Punk going to do this? At a certain point, you have to ask yourself, oh, wait a second, if CM Punk keeps doing this, then the conclusion of what's happening is that CM Punk is just going to continue to ruin title match after title match for the fans just because he doesn't like Drew McIntyre. Well, that's perfectly fine, but it sounds like heel behavior to me. And with that being said, this was Clash at the Castle. It wasn't anything special. It was your standard modern-day WWE 5-match pay-per-view, quote-unquote. If you compare it to the other pay-per-views, it was okay. But it was also very similar to the other ones, right? You had your Sami Zayn, Chad Gable match. You had your Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles match. It was the same thing as the France one, right? Then you had a bunch of meaningless shit. And then eventually in there, you also had Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. This wasn't a well-thought-out pay-per-view, right? It was basically based on two things. Well, we have AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes. Or rather, we have Cody Rhodes, we need him to do something. And we have Sami Zayn, we need him to do something. And there you have it. That's exactly what happened. As a result of this, those were the two matches that were made that were actual matches. The other three matches were basically like, all right, let's look at the roster, find everyone who has a Scottish flag next to their name, and find out what we can do with them, which I think is kind of cheap. And it's also kind of stupid because it's like, why are all these people getting their title shots when they go to Scotland, right? It's like, that's just silly. But whatever, it is what it is. It was somewhat entertaining, but I'm going to give it a nice 6 out of 10, which in my opinion is a great score for this shit event. All right, Cucks, take care.